Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. It's the start of a new week. I hope you're well, wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Arsenal are back to winning ways, so we can all go into the new week feeling a little bit better about ourselves. Nice 1-0 win against Chelsea yesterday. Not exactly a thriller, but definitely better than what we've seen of late in the league anyway, especially in that first half. And a win's a win. And at the moment, when you've gone 3 games without a win in the league, then any win is a nice one. And that was as comfortable as you can get, especially for a 1-0 win, which are usually nervy affairs when you're thinking, oh my God, the other team are going to nick a goal, nick an equaliser here. I never, ever felt like that yesterday. It was the most comfortable of 1-0 wins as you are ever going to get. An absolute cruise in the end for Arsenal against a really poor Chelsea side. Wow, they were bad when you consider how much money they've spent. I know they're missing some of their key attackers, like Arsenal have been. But even so, I expected a little bit more from Chelsea than that. So they're going to have to improve if they are going to get themselves a top 4 spot. We're going to talk about that show in that game, in today's show. Go over it, go over some of the big talking points. Look what Mikel had to say. Talk about Mikel Merino, who 4 goals in 7 since he's made that shift to playing as a makeshift striker. You know, he's not perfect. He's far from perfect, but he deserves a fair bit of credit because he's doing a very, very good job for the team at the moment in very trying circumstances. We'll go over my player ratings from yesterday. We'll look at what some of you guys have had to say as well. Like I said, after 3 games without a win, this was just a really important one for Arsenal. It couldn't let that run extend further going into the international break, especially with Nottingham Forest now breathing down their necks. You know, Forest had moved to within 1 point of Arsenal with their win on the Saturday. Had Chelsea have beaten Arsenal yesterday, Chelsea would have been 3 points behind them. You know, you're then very much in the realms of, okay, we're in a bit of a dogfight here for a top 4 spot. So it was very important that Arsenal just found a way to win yesterday, and they did that. And like I said, the first half, look, it far from a fantastic performance. It wasn't a thriller, but the first half, especially the first half an hour or 35 minutes, I thought that was the best we've seen Arsenal play for quite a while, certainly in the Premier League anyway. You know, take the PSV away game out of it. I thought they attacked well. I thought they created plenty of chances. Unfortunately, they just didn't score them. You know, some of the chances they had, Trossard's first one, which he sliced wide. He had that other one, which he miscued at the back post. Declan Rice put that one over. The sort of spring ball type thing of when Martinelli got in. Was it Martinelli? No, it was Timber got in down the right, and then Cucurella probably handballed it, but fell over. And then Cucurella and Timber brought it into the penalty area. Then he really should have picked out Martinelli and given him a tap, and he overhit that cross. You know, you just play that into Martinelli's pass, and that's an open goal tap-in. So I thought Timber overhit that pass. You know, that should have certainly led to a goal as well. There were plenty of chances there for Arsenal to take a commanding lead. And I think at that point, had they been 2 or 3 goals up, they would have deserved it. You know, they were so on top and they were causing Chelsea problems. In the end, it was just the 1-0 was a very good goal from Merino. Finally, a set-piece goal. You know, we've been needing them recently of late, especially with the forwards out, and they've dried up at the worst possible time. I think that was 12 games without a goal from a set piece, but they ended that duck yesterday, and it was a really good header from Merino. Good run to the near post. Odegaard picked it out. They'd been working on it they've been working on something similar in training. Mikel Arteta revealed afterwards, not that sort of finish. I presume it was more of a sort of near post, you know, I don't know, glance low at the near post type thing rather than the looping back header that he did. But it was a really good header. On the commentary, they said, I think it was Alan Smith said, look, he doesn't mean to do that. He's just trying to flick it on. I think that's a bit harsh. I think that's a deliberate attempt to score for me. And it was a really good header over the goalkeeper, over the defence. And it was no more at that point than Arsenal deserved. And you kind of hope they'd go on and kick on and win the game, you know, more comfortably than they did. It didn't happen. The second goal didn't really arrive. It never really looked like it was going to. The second half, I felt Arsenal were just a lot more concerned at making sure they didn't throw it away. I think they knew full well from what they'd seen from Chelsea up to that point that they were very confident that they wouldn't concede a goal. And in the end, it panned out like that. It never really looked like they were going to concede. There was another chance from Merino, obviously, in the second half. That was a really good save by Sanchez. Sanchez looked like a mistake waiting to happen throughout the game, especially when the ball was at his feet. But I thought his save from Merino, when Martinelli picked out Merino, Merino hit the volley very nicely. I thought that was a really strong arm from Sanchez to keep it out. That was the only other sort of real main chance Arsenal had in the second half. They had other opportunities that they didn't take advantage of when they went through sort of 3 against 3 and things like that. And then they just picked the wrong pass and things like that. And at the other end, Chelsea just offered absolutely nothing. I think there was one Cucurella header quite late on that just bounced harmlessly into the path of of David Raya. Like I said, it was very, very comfortable for a 1-0 win, when we've seen it time and time again this season, haven't we? When Arsenal just had a sort of single goal, a solitary goal lead, and you've always felt, oh God, the other team are going to come back and score here. I never felt like that. It was very, very comfortable for me. I mean, you look at the match stats, it doesn't exactly paint the picture of an absolute thriller. Arsenal shading it in terms of XG, 12 shots to 8, 4 on target, 2 for Chelsea. Chelsea had lots of possession, and it kind of felt like that, but they never did anything with it. Arsenal just stood off them, especially in the second half, let them have the ball, and were very confident that they wouldn't be able to break them down. I thought Arsenal defenders played very, very well. When I look ahead to what's to come between now and the end of the season for Arsenal, certainly even when Saka comes back, I think we're all expecting this magical transformation of this Arsenal team when Bukayo Saka comes back, or if Bukayo Saka comes back, which we hope he will, obviously, that suddenly they're going to become this massive attacking threat again. I don't really see that happening. There'll be more of a threat because you've got your best attacking player back in the team. So there will be more of a threat, you would think. But I don't think they're suddenly going to explode into life and be this free-scoring Arsenal team that we saw smash teams every week last season, in the second half of last season. So when I look at the blueprint of this game, and I look at a way of how Arsenal are potentially going to get past Real Madrid in the Champions League, this is a sort of blueprint of the game that I see Arsenal sort of trying to do. Be very, very tight defensively, which they were yesterday. Gabriel was superb. Timber was superb. Saliba was good. Lewis Skelly was good. And Declan Rice was good. Thomas Partey was good. All those sort of players. If Arsenal are going to get past Real Madrid over 2 legs, then those players are going to be so essential to it. You're going to have to defend very, very well. You're going to have to hope you can find something at the other end from a set piece like we saw yesterday, get yourselves in front, and then try and get you through over these 2 games. And I know there's lots of league games to play between now and the end of the season. There's still 9 games to go, which is really frustrating. If I could click my fingers now and be 2 games before the end of the season, I would absolutely take that just to get this Premier League season done and dusted with now. But there are still 9 games to go. So we are going to have to sort of get through these run of fixtures that are coming up. But all eyes are on Real Madrid. That is the important thing now. I think the win yesterday as well was giving Arsenal breathing space to be able to focus a little bit more on Real Madrid. There's 2 league games to go before that first leg, of course. But yeah, as I said, I think this is going to be the kind of blueprint of what we're going to see between now and the end of the season, and how Arsenal are potentially going to get past Real Madrid, if they are going to find a way to get past Real Madrid, obviously, in the Champions League. Mikel said, I really loved the attitude of the team from the beginning. It was so aggressive, so dominant with and without the ball. We scored the goal, had lots of chances that we didn't put in the back of the net, unfortunately. Defensively, we conceded almost nothing. It was very, very impressive. And attacking-wise, we could have generated much more when we had some open situations just to kill them. We didn't finish the action. The way we went to the duels, the intensity we showed, the level of communication on the side, we really generated a good atmosphere in the stadium. And yeah, we deserved to win the game. We had to run in transition, and running back in transition, the team was incredible the way they tracked back. So overall, so competitive, really good periods, but probably should have been more. I think that's a good way of summing it up, to be honest, because Arsenal were aggressive and they had to be. It was a really bitty game. It was an edgy game. Chelsea were running around, kicking them left, right, and centre, and been really sort of sly the way they were doing it. Caicedo was doing it all game. Enzo Fernandez was doing it all game. Fofana, how Fofana stayed on that pitch, I have no idea. It wasn't pretty, as I said, but it was niggly, really, really niggly. And the fouls that coming in. Caicedo lost his head in the first half. I remember Odegaard did this lovely bit of skill. I can't remember who it was on, but he sort of knocked the ball around him, went around the other way and ran off. And it seemed to really wind Caicedo up. And then he spent the next sort of 5 minutes just giving it like that to Odegaard. There was about 3 or 4 times when he went into him, you could see he was trying to wind him up. I thought he was trying to get Thomas Partey sent off in the second half because he knew Partey was on a booking. There was a couple of times where he tried to sort of exaggerate things, and it was just that, as I said, just a really sort of niggly type of game, edgy, bitty, and I think Arsenal had to be alert to that and alive to that, and I thought they were. I thought they kept their heads under quite a bit of Chelsea sort of targeting them, trying to wind them up. So I thought overall it was a decent performance. I came away from it feeling it's certainly better than I have of late. Mikel Merino, as I said, he's doing a really good job up front for Arsenal. Is he perfect? Far from it. Do I want to see this much longer? Absolutely not. I want a proper striker up there rather than seeing Mikel Merino try to be a striker up there. But you've got to give the guy credit. You really do. It's 4 goals from 7 appearances now since playing as a makeshift striker. He's doing a job. He's working so hard for the team. And, you've got to give the guy credit for what he's doing. Mikel said that was the emergency situation that we're in at the moment, and the way he's approaching it is incredible. He wants to understand everything. He wants to learn from it. He's very critical of himself all the time. And at the end, the reality is that he's winning football matches for us, which is incredible. He's never played in that position before on his life. On the quality of the goals he's scoring, he says, yeah, and that's the value of it. It's a big match, and at the end, you win the game because of his goal. He had another big chance that almost put it in the back of the net, so I'm very happy with his contribution. And he deserves credit. Like I said, 4 goals in 7. I think in that period, since he's moved forward to be the makeshift striker, I think only Haaland and Marmoush, who of course scored a hat-trick in one of those games, have scored more in the Premier League than Merino has. And, that he deserves an awful lot of credit, I think. He's not had the best of first seasons at Arsenal. I think there's serious reservations about, him being a potential first-team player in his natural position when everyone comes back fit. But he's doing a good job for the team right now. And like Mikel said, he's never played there before. And I think you've got to praise him for what he's doing. And yesterday he was a match winner. Again, he was a match winner at Leicester. That's 6 points that Arsenal have won in the last 4 games. 5 games, whatever it is in the league, that are down solely to Merino's finishing as a makeshift striker. So I think, he deserves an awful lot of credit to that. So, well done, Mikel Merino. Okay, player ratings wise, I gave Raya a 7, which I saw someone in the comments saying, "Why have you given him a 7? He made one mistake and he didn't really do too much." I kind of see what you're saying, but I actually felt he did do quite a lot yesterday. He didn't have to do any saves because Chelsea offered very little, but I just thought playing that sweeper keeper role, he played it very, very well. I thought he was really aggressive when he was claiming crosses. He got Arsenal attack starting the way he played. I just thought it was quite a good all-round performance from Raya, although that was an absolute clang. And had that gone in and given Chelsea an equaliser, my word, that would have been frustrating. I love that when you see the close-up look on his face when it happens, he just says, wow. You just can see it perfectly. He's thinking to himself, what on earth? I just got away with one there. But overall, I thought he had a good game. I gave him a 7. Timber, I thought, was excellent. Really, really good. Jurriën Timber, I gave him an 8. Saliba, I gave a 7. Gabriel, like Timber, I thought was just superb. Really, really aggressive. Dominated Chelsea in all aspects whenever they came forward. Thought he played really well coming out with the ball in possession. He dropped into onto Enzo Fernandez, who was kind of playing in that 10 role at times. And he did it very well. So I gave him an 8. Lewis Skelly, I gave a 7. Partey, I gave a 7. Rice, I thought, was excellent. Really, really good. I just think the shift he's putting into this team week in, week out now, sort of making those runs, the only midfielder really making those runs over the top, driving forward. I just thought he had a really, really good game. And the match of day 2 analysis on him yesterday, I thought was excellent. And the way he absolutely destroyed Reece James in that game. And Reece James just struggled so much to be able to deal with Declan Rice. So I gave him an 8. Odegaard, I gave a 6. I thought he was good in the first half. Odegaard, some lovely little touches. Fell away in the second half, couldn't sort of maintain that level. Very similar to what he did at Old Trafford, actually, Odegaard, which was a shame. But I didn't think he was dreadful by any means. But second half, definitely a bit of a struggle. Gave him a 6. Martinelli, I gave a 6. Merino, 7. And Trossard, 6. Maybe that's harsh on Martinelli. I think I've got one of you guys in the comments actually talking about Martinelli and his performance yesterday. But maybe 6 is a little bit harsh because he was involved in some big moments and he did cause Chelsea problems, no doubt about it. I didn't think Trossard played too badly either, but Trossard's just his end product was poor. Got himself in some good positions, but didn't take advantage of them. So I gave those 2 a 6, and Merino just edged it in terms of the forwards with a 7. Right, let's move on to your comments now in reaction to the game. Lewis has got in touch. Thank you very much, Lewis. You say Gabriel's definitely my player of the season, but I think Timber was man of the match. His performance was standout in my opinion. Yeah, I was thinking about player of the season. I'm going to do a video on this soon. Sort of looking at the sort of early sort of front runners for player of the season, even though we've still got a little bit of time left. I think it's a good debate. For me, I think Gabriel is my player of the season. I think Gabriel and David Raya are Arsenal's 2 stand-up players, which says a lot about Arsenal's season, to be honest. But I think Gabriel's been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, you say Timber was man of the match yesterday, and Dara agrees with you. He says Timber is elite. Can't see Ben White getting back in easily, to be honest. I agree. Yeah, Ben White's got a big battle on his hands, but how good a situation is that? how nice a position is that for Arsenal to be in? You're talking about Ben White and Jurriën Timber. And also, it's not just about them having to... The whole reason Ben White injured himself was because he had to play all the time because Timber was injured. And that meant eventually Ben White broke down. So having both of them fit means you can get yourself in a position where that's just not going to happen because you can rotate, and the quality is not going to drop off. It's a fantastic position for Arsenal to be in. It's what you need to be all over the pitch, really, in those sort of positions, to have that strength of depth. McCormick says, I thought Timber was excellent today. I did think Trossard was poor, but looking forward to seeing some rotation and Gabby back at left wing. Nostradamus says, not too pleased with the 41% possession and most of all the 37% in the second half. Of course, the whole backline did their job and did it very well with great concentration and timing, but do feel players like Zinchenko is crucial to have in the middle of the pitch for the last 20 plus minutes remaining. I was surprised at the lack of subs from Arteta as that game wore on. I could see that players were tiring in that second half. Martinelli, I thought, should have come off at least 10 minutes earlier than he did because he looked absolutely shattered. He was running down the wing right in front of me. And you could see every time the ball went out of play, he would just look up and you could just see he was really, really struggling fitness-wise, which is no surprise because it was his first start in such a long time. And I'd like to see maybe Zinchenko or someone like that come on in the middle of the pitch with sort of 20 minutes to go in that game. But Arteta obviously didn't do that. Goss says 6 out of 10 for Martinelli. He had one of our 4 shots on target. He won the corner for our goal from a very good run. He set up Merino for his volley with a nice cross from the right. Worked as hard as he always does and made runs into the box while Timber went outside, not having this 6 business. So, yeah, not agreeing with my player rating there on Martinelli. It makes some very, very good points there. And I did think he had a good game, Martinelli. But again, my 6 is not a bad score. 6 is, is what is kind of my average score. Maybe just shaded that. You're right to point those out, and he was involved in some big moments, Gabriel Martinelli. So maybe a 7 would have been a fairer reflection on his game. But I agree, it's good to see him back. Great to see him back. And I thought there's some good signs from him in that game. Gunner for Life, this is an interesting one. It's talking about the free kick in the second half, which is you're absolutely spot on. I thought it was absolutely farcical. When Arsenal had that free kick, Rice ended up putting it in the wall. But the referee, Chris Kavanagh, remember, who has to do everything by the book. Of course, this is a referee who sent off Declan Rice early in the season because he had no other choice. Rules are rules and all that. Free kick gets given, 10 yards, draws the line, and then all the Chelsea players are standing in front of the line. Odegaard and Rice are just pointing it out to him, saying, what's going on? And he just says, just get on with it. It's like, well, it's just an absolute joke. And you're right. Gunner for Life says it's infuriating. He says the ref makes a line some distance from the wall, where the fake wall can stand. This is obviously the Arsenal players who can stand in front of the wall. And you're saying, why are the other Chelsea players allowed to stand directly behind our wall, which is less than 10 yards away? And you just push and shove our players repeatedly before the free kick. Wouldn't those Chelsea players be encroaching and less than the required 10 yards? By the way, this is in reference to the free kick we had right outside the box, which Wright took and ended up deflecting for a corner. Please help understand why it is legal. I don't know. I don't think it is legal. I agree. It was opposite me. And I was just staring at it. I didn't understand what was happening. It was really, really bizarre. So I just think it was bad from Chris Kavanagh, the referee, which is no surprise, to be honest. Magoo says that Odegaard has got to be the biggest disappointment this year. Got in so many good areas again today. Kept overhitting the final pass. It's been underwhelming season for him, whether it's due to injury early on, Saka and White being out for large chunks of the season, sleepless nights from the baby, simply just one of those years. I really hope he can pick up some momentum remainder of the season and get back to his best next year. We definitely need to have another option because we are too reliant on him. I agree with that other option. Maybe that other option next season will be Nwaneri once Saka comes back and he sees Nwaneri more as a option in Odegaard's position. We'll have to wait and see. I agree it's not been the best of seasons for Odegaard, but I'm absolutely convinced that he'll come back next season. We'll see the Odegaard that we've come more accustomed to than the one we've seen certainly since he's come back from that nasty injury he had earlier on in the season. And that's it for today's show. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. We've got now 2 weeks and 1 day until the next Arsenal game, which is a long, long time. So I'm going to have to find things to talk about for the next 2 weeks and 1 day. I'm sure I'll do it because this is Arsenal and there's always plenty of things to talk about. Who knows? We might get the Andrea Berta announcement this week. Time will tell on that. But until then, enjoy the start to your week. And I'll be back in the morning to do it all over again. Anything you want me to talk about at a time when there isn't going to be that much to talk about, then let me know in the comments below. Give me your questions, give me your comments. I'll pull them together and get them included in tomorrow's show. Speak to you soon, everyone. Have a good Monday. Bye-bye.